I heard you plan a business trip to China. Well, my teammates Carrie, Eddie, Chandra Wismer, and myself, Annette Aldridge, had done a little research on China. We decided to throw a little video together for you so that you could minimize any problems or misunderstandings that might come up from cultural differences.
Hello, my name is Chandra Wismer, and today I will be going over 3 typical business transactions to plan for. First, before you visit China, investigate what your Chinese associates would consider appropriate gifts. Keep an inventory of them and express your appreciation. Then, be square. It's an attitude thing. Finally, there is no alternative to unfailing courtesy. Understanding the role that government plays in China is much different than the role of the government in the U.S. The local government agencies and the respective officials in China are involved in most every aspect of business. As a result, U.S. companies should meet and cultivate relationships. The first thing is for U.S. companies to bring something such as jobs, technology, or investment. The U.S. should make it a mandatory development to develop a relationship with the State Administration for Industry and Commerce, or SAIC. They can help in combating intellectual property infringements. The U.S. must also learn the local business etiquette and norms. Humility is a powerful tool in China. The U.S. company must also know the market that it is entering into. They must identify the competitors, their strengths, weaknesses, and strategies. The company should also do their own field work and directly meet with the people in the market. They must also determine relationships, and they must know its Chinese customers. The role of contracts is one of the differences between the Chinese and the U.S. The Chinese are mostly interested in the relationship than in the contract. Trust and harmony are the most important to Chinese than a piece of paper.
Gender and age roles. Gender. The well-known Mao stated, "Women hold up half the sky," really is quoted in China. The communist system created an equal playing field for men and women, much more so than Asia and even more equal than the United States. Working mothers are the norm in China, and in fact, there is a huge pressure on mothers to go back to work in order to help the extended family. It is expected that the grandparents will care for the child. Throughout China, a woman's position within her company is respected. If you present a woman as vice president of sales for your company, and she goes over for an initial meeting, she will be accepted for who she is and what position she holds. If she's the president of the company, all the better. Position is much more important than gender. Many codes of behavior revolve around young people showing respect to older people. Younger people are expected to defer to older people, like letting them speak first, sit down after them, and do not contradict them. When a senior person enters a room, everyone stands. People go out of their way to open doors for the elderly, and it is considered rude to cross your legs in front of them. Senior persons begin greetings. Greet the oldest, most senior person before others. During group introductions, line up according to seniority, with the senior person at the head of the line. Unlike Japanese, Chinese do not necessarily bow to one another as a greeting. However, bowing is generally reserved as a sign of respect for elders and ancestors.
Okay, so now we need to figure out what to wear. Chinese are a very conservative group of people. people, so it's really important that you figure out the right clothes to wear, or at least not the wrong ones. You don't want to wear anything too flashy or colorful. Um, Stick with neutral colors, blacks, whites, grays. Men should wear business suits. Never wear a tux. They would consider you pompous and arrogant. Women never show any skin. Do not even your toes. So no mini skirts, no strapless dresses, no open-toed shoes, and keep the makeup and jewelry to a minimum too. You don't want anything too colorful or flashy. Since we're talking about making a good impression, I thought I should mention a few things about how to act in public. First of all, punctuality is very important, so always arrive a little early. If you walk into a building and you hear applause, applaud back. It's a sign of welcome. When meeting a group of people, always address the senior-most person first, and always use formal titles when you're conducting business. Public displays of affection are definitely frowned upon. So, in fact, the Chinese don't really like being touched by strangers at all. So, no hugs, handshakes, unless it's initiated by the other person. It's best just to keep your hands to yourself. Speaking of hands, never talk with them. Moving your hands around while speaking will just annoy the Chinese. Never put them in your mouth either. It's considered extremely vulgar. If you need to use your hands to get people's attention, you put your palm down and wave your fingers toward yourself. If you need to point, you use your whole hand.
Now, here are some pointers for typical business transactions to plan for. Patience. Competition is always there. China's experience is still new in the business world. Most businessmen and even government lack the experience or the skills in making business deals. Relationships. A good business relationship is essential to business success. It embodies trust and security. Chinese businessmen prefer doing business with other businessmen whose character has already been tested. Zhengji literally means relationship, or the system is consistent of relationships of various companies that partake in business transactions. Establishing Zhengji with the government is a way of assessing whether your company is competitive enough for them. For most Chinese businessmen, Zhengji means to honor, making promises, showing good manners, and showing them respect and loyalty. Dates. When making business appointments, always check the Chinese calendar. Avoid any national holidays, especially the Chinese New Year, as well as May 1st, which is their Labor Day, and October 1st, which is their National Day, which is the founding of the People's Republic of China on October 1st of 1949. Language of the meeting. Make sure you know the language capabilities of your hosts before the meeting. It is also recommended that you know some Chinese as well. Dress code. Government officials and top management officials tend to dress formally for meetings. In fact, most of the men in China now wear suits and ties. Women tend to wear skirts and blouses, but if you're not sure, always dress formally. It conveys respect. Addressing others. Have respect for elders and rankings. Seniority is always valued. It is important to address your counterparts by their title, such as chairman and etc. Say your name clearly. Ensure that you're not too aggressive with your handshake. Having a Chinese name, ideally, is one of meaning rather than just a translation of your name, will always be shown as a sign of respect. Also, the Chinese value punctuality, so arrive on time or even slightly early. Giving and receiving business cards. When you hand out business cards, make sure the first one goes to the most senior official, and have your cards translated into Chinese on one side.
Cultural perspective on the appropriate use of time and space. Setting up a Chinese business meeting. When setting up a Chinese business meeting, it is important to send as much information to your Chinese counterparts in advance. Include details about the topics to be discussed, and background information on your company to ensure that the people you want to meet will actually attend the meeting. However, preparing in advance will not get you confirmation on the actual meeting day and time. It's not uncommon to wait anxiously to the last minute for confirmation. The Chinese prefer waiting until a few days before or even the day of the meeting to confirm the time and place. Arrival at Chinese business meetings. Be on time. Arriving late is considered rude. If you do arrive late, apologize for your tardiness. It's necessary to do so. If you are hosting the meeting, it is proper etiquette to send a representative to meet the meeting's participants outside the building or in the lobby and personally escort them to the meeting room. The host should be waiting in the meeting room to greet all attendees. The senior-most guest should enter the meeting room first. While entrance by rank is necessary during high-level government meetings, it has become less formal for regular business meetings. Chinese meeting seating arrangements. The seating is typically arranged by rank. The host should escort the senior-most guest to his or her seat, as well as any VIP guests. The place of honor is to the host's right on a sofa or in the chairs that are opposite of the room's doors. If the meeting is held around a large conference table, then the guest of the honor is seated directly opposite of the host. Other high-ranking guests sit in the same general area, while the remainder of the guests can choose their seats from among the remaining chairs. If the meeting is to be held around a large conference table, all Chinese delegates may opt to sit on one side of the table and foreigners on the other. This is especially true for formal meetings and negotiations. The principal delegates are seated in the meeting with lower ranking attendees placed at either end of the table.
The Chinese appreciate it very much when you Americans take the time and effort to learn a few phrases in their language. It shows that you have respect and care at least a little bit. China is one of the oldest civilizations on earth. Therefore, it has many different dialects. Mandarin is the most common, and it's also it's known as the speech of officials. It's much easier to learn, too. It only has 4 tones. The Chinese language is based on tones. Each word has a different meaning, or each word has many different meanings, so it all depends on how you say it. Be careful what you say. Some key phrases are ni hao, which means hello, or how are you. Nin hao is more respectful way of putting it. It's reserved for officials and elders. A typical reply would be hao, which is good, or hen hao, which is very good. Zaijian means goodbye. The 3 most important words to learn are please, thank you, and you're welcome. Qing ni hi is please. Shei shei nai ni ai. Shei shei ni is thank you. And bukachi is you're welcome.